Welcome back, band family. Before we get started today, I wanted to share with you kind of a cool app that I encourage you to get. It's totally free and it's available for Android devices as well as for Apple iOS devices. It's called Bandmate and it is a tuner. A tuner is a device that tells you what note you're playing. And Bandmate looks like this. When you first start up the app, there's two different controls you can adjust. The first is this little switch on the far right side. You can either have it select this, it looks like a hashtag on the bottom. That's a musical symbol we call a sharp. Or you can select the top symbol up there, which looks like kind of half of a heart with a line through it. That's called a flat. And I would switch it so that the flat on top is selected. The other thing you can select on this app is which instrument you play. So select the instrument from your list and then it will tell you what pitch you are producing. You can even try it by singing or whistling a note. Oh, I guess that was an E flat. So check out Bandmate, and again, it's totally free for Android and iOS Apple devices. I've put a link to this in the resources folder on Schoology if you can't find it in the App Store for your device. Let's talk about our embouchure. If you recall from the instrument fitting video, embouchure is just a fancy word that refers to the mouth shape or face shape you make when you're playing an instrument. For single reed instruments like both clarinet and saxophone, we have a very similar embouchure for both. And it starts with the M face. So say M. The M face, if you recall, is that face you make when you say M. So the M face is where we start, but we also need to firm up our chin without it changing shape. And this is where it really is helpful to have a mirror. So grab a mirror. I have a mirror that's a portable mirror. I think this is originally like a locker mirror or something like that. You can buy them right now at most department stores or discount stores. But these are great. You can have it nice and close, or you can get next to a big wall mirror and just walk up to it. That works too. But grab a mirror for today's lesson. You're going to need it. Pause the video. Come on back once you have a mirror. I want to watch myself as I'm saying that M and make sure that I understand what it looks like. M, and then I'll try making that same M face without a sound. But next up, I'm going to firm up my corners and my entire chin really without changing the basic shape of my face. I'll show you what I mean. I'll go from the M face and then I'll firm up the chin. You might have noticed there that my chin got firm, but it didn't change shape. It stayed basically the same. So here's some things you can think about. One of them is the EU syllable. Say EU, and you might find yourself creating the correct face shape. Let me try it. EU. That's what it is. So say EU, and you'll probably get the right shape. Try it with me. EU. So that EU phrase can help you find it. Here's some troubleshooting, things to watch out for. The most important thing to watch out for is the bunched chin. We don't want our chin to bunch up. The bunched chin looks like it's rounded, and it also usually has a dimpled surface. If you think of what a golf ball looks like, it's got those dimples on the outside. We don't want our chin to bunch up like a golf ball and be dimply like a golf ball. So I'm going to make the M face. I'm going to incorrectly bunch up my chin, but then I'm going to correctly fix it by firming up and forming the correct flat chin. I'll show you. So you'll notice there that I had the M face, and then I went to the bunched chin, and then I went to the correct flat chin. Watch one more time. You'll notice when we said EU that our mouth was still open a little bit. That's kind of what we're going for. So try it again, do the EU, and make sure that your mouth is slightly open. EU. So let's do some weight training for our face. I want you to do the EU phrase, firming up that chin, keeping it nice and flat, and I want you to hold it there for 10 counts, okay? I'm gonna count while I have the EU face on, so it's gonna sound a little weird, but work with me. EU, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Relax. It might take a little time to develop the strength to be able to hold that for a long time. Let's try it again. We're going to go to 15 this time. Ready? EU, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Relax. So I've been playing for a while, so I'm able to do this easily for long periods of time. But since this is your first day, you may only make it to 5 or 6. If you can make it to 10, fantastic. 15, even better. We're going to try it one more time. We're going to go all the way to 20. And don't worry if you can't get all the way there. If you need to take a break in the middle and come back in, that's just fine. EU 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. How'd you do? Did you make it all the way to 20? Did you at least get to 5 or 6? Do this a little bit every day, and you're actually increasing the strength and the endurance of those muscles in your chin. Are you ready to make some sound? Go ahead and grab your instrument case, but don't open it yet. As you look at it, you'll notice that there is a lid and then the bottom part of the case. So the lid is usually the thinner section, and have that on top. The bottom section of the case, have that on the bottom. If you're not sure which side the lid is, again, it's the thinner side, and quite often there is a name on it, like the brand name of the instrument. So it might say Yamaha or Selmer or whatever. So that's usually the lid. Go ahead and unlatch the latches, lift up the lid, and if you did it correctly, your instrument didn't fall out because you had it upside down. Go ahead and take out just a couple parts for today. Let's start by grabbing a reed. Now this reed is individually packaged. It came out of a box, and I'm going to open it now to show you what it looks like on the inside. So I'll tear it open, and there is the reed. It comes in a plastic case, and this particular case has a little scooped out section for my thumb. So I'm going to place my thumb right there, and I'm going to pull out that reed, being very careful not to touch the end of the reed. That end of the reed is super delicate. It is so thin I can actually see light through it. So I want to make sure that I'm not touching the end. But it does need to be wet to vibrate. So go ahead and lick both sides of the reed and then place it on your tongue, in your mouth, almost like it's like a lollipop. Just don't move it around. Now go ahead and leave that reed in your mouth for this next little section here and let it slowly moisten. It'll probably taste like, bamboo. Yeah, we don't moisten the reeds because they taste good. It's because it makes it work better. One other bit of advice too, if it's a brand new reed, you might actually want to lick the entire back side of the reed. That's the side that probably has some printing on it. The other way you can do this is you can dunk the reed in a glass of water and leave it there for about a minute or two. So that's a way to get around the mouth thing. But you need to have water in a glass. So most people just put it in their mouth. But like I said, be very careful. Don't move it around in your mouth and don't talk, or else you might chip the end of that reed. Now that your reed is soaking in your mouth, I want you to grab a few other parts from the case. The first is the barrel. It looks like a barrel. So grab that and set it aside. Next up, I want you to find the mouthpiece and the ligature. Now the mouthpiece and the ligature in the case are probably already attached like this. There may also be a mouthpiece cap on the top as well. You can take the cap off if there is one and leave that in the case. We just need the mouthpiece and the ligature. Now the ligature on this particular instrument is made out of metal. Sometimes they're made out of fabric or plastic, so they might be a completely different color, but on this particular one, that's what the ligature looks like. Chances are that's probably what yours looks like as well. We're going to take that ligature off and set it aside for now, and we're going to start with just the mouthpiece and the barrel. When we assemble the clarinet, I'm going to show you some techniques that you're going to use on just these two parts today, but they'll apply for the future as well. As we assemble the clarinet, we want to make sure that our palms are facing us and that our thumbs are facing towards the ceiling. Go ahead and hold the barrel in your right hand, mouthpiece in the left. Have the mouthpiece so the hole is facing you. The barrel actually has a top and a bottom. There's a wider side and a narrower side. Everything in the clarinet is shaped like a cone. See how the mouthpiece is narrower on the top, wider on the bottom? Same thing for the barrel. Narrow on top, wider at the bottom. This is upside down. This is right side up. Hold the two parts together, and you're going to push and squeeze them together with a slight twisting motion. Wait. If your clarinet is brand new, chances are that cork that's on the bottom of the mouthpiece that forms an airtight seal between the two parts, chances are that cork is really thick and very dry, and it's going to be really hard to put together. So before we can put it together, we're probably going to need to apply some cork grease. Grab the cork grease from your case. The cork grease might be in a tube like this. Looks like chapstick. It's not chapstick. You could use it like chapstick, I suppose, but that would be weird. Or it might be in a little small box or a small plastic disc where you scoop it out with your finger. Somehow, however your cork grease comes out, apply it to the cork on the bottom. So you can put it all the way around just like this. Don't worry about using too little. I didn't use very much because my cork is old and I don't need a lot. But if yours is brand new, really push it on there. In fact, it's a good idea to work it in with your fingers. Just have some paper towel nearby so you can wipe off your hand because it gets a little bit greasy. But really grease up that cork, rub it in really well, and you'll find that it's a lot easier to put those two parts together. Grab your barrel with your right hand, mouthpiece in the left. Let's try again. All right, here we go. Twist, twist, twist. And then don't let go of anything yet. I want you to let go of the bottom hand. This is important to remember. As we twist the two together, we're going to let go with our bottom hand. That'll be more important later on, but if you can get used to that idea that we always let go of the bottom hand, you'll be in good shape. So at this point, we have the two parts attached and our mouthpiece hole is facing us. All right. Next, grab your ligature. The ligature is also shaped like a cone, like everything else in the clarinet. There's a narrow end and a bigger end. I want to put them together the correct way, so big end on the bottom, narrow end on top. If you had that upside down, it wouldn't go on because the cones are going in opposite directions, right? So we want to make sure that we have the cones facing the same direction. Now the screws right here are always operated by the right hand. Doesn't matter if you're left-handed or right-handed, they're always going to have the handles facing to the right. So on this particular ligature, these little screws are going to be right below the hole, and I'm going to tighten them if needed with my right hand, just like this. That's for this ligature. Some ligatures are what we call inverted ligatures. Inverted means upside down, and the screws will actually go on the back side here. How do you know if you have an inverted ligature? If your screws have the handles poking out on the right side, it's an inverted ligature. You probably don't have an inverted ligature. If you're renting one from Schmidt or Grove, it's not an inverted ligature. If you bought it used and you maybe got it from somebody else, they might have an inverted ligature. Probably not though. But those inverted ligatures will have the screws on the back side and your right hand still operates the screws. This is not an inverted ligature. I can tell because I would have to operate these with my left hand and that's not how it works. Boom, that's correct. For now, hold the barrel with your left hand. Take your left thumb and try pushing up on the ligature, pull it down. Push up, pull down. It's like we're working out. You'll notice that because it's shaped like a cone, the farther up I push it, the looser it gets. As I pull down, it gets tighter. So that's important to remember, okay? You can take the ligature off, set it aside. So now take the reed from your mouth and look at it closely. You'll notice there's a rounded side and a flat side. The rounded side is kind of shiny, and the flat side is completely flat, and there may be some printing on it as well. If you look at the mouthpiece, it is also round on one side and flat on one side. So the way these go together, flat goes to flat. If I put the flat against flat, just like this, that's how the reed will be oriented on the mouthpiece. It doesn't go like inside the hole or anything, it just goes flat against the hole. If I make it so that it's evenly spaced left to right and even with the end, that's right where it needs to go. In fact, I could even play a note simply by holding the reed in place with my thumb. But then I couldn't play the rest of the instrument, of course. So we need to find another way to tie that reed in place. That's what the ligature is for. Ligature actually means to tie. So we're going to tie this reed in place with a ligature. So I now have the reed held against the mouthpiece with my thumb. My right hand is going to grab the ligature. I'm going to slip it over the top. But hold on, wait, don't do it yet. The tip of that reed is super delicate, right? It could easily break. So as I place that ligature over the top, I have to look very carefully. I have to take my time so I don't accidentally break that end of that reed. As I slip it over the top, chances are my reed might have moved around a little bit. Remember, it needs to be evenly spaced left to right, and the end of that reed needs to be even at the end. So I probably need to move it around until it's in position. Check it out. If my reed is up way too high, what would happen if I then pressed down on that reed to push it back in position? Yeah, it's going to break the reed for sure. So I don't want to do that. I want to grab the reed with my thumbs and I'll slide the reed around until I have it exactly where it needs to be. Make sure the ligature isn't being pulled down though, right? So keep that up and loose. Use both thumbs on the reed to get it to where it needs to be. Once it's exactly where it needs to be, you can pinch the reed and the mouthpiece with your thumb and first finger of your right hand and use your left thumb to pull the ligature down nice and tight. I should probably stop looking at the camera as I do this. It's easier if I actually look at this. So I hold the reed in position with my right thumb and first finger, pull the ligature down tight, and then once it's in position, the ligature is tight by me pulling it snug. I could probably tighten these screws though just enough to make sure the ligature doesn't wiggle around on its own. And we should be all set. A couple things to watch out for though. The very first time you put this ligature on, the screws may not be in that right setting, so you might have to adjust those screws quite a bit the first time. It's kind of like when you buy a pair of shoes. The laces are all messed up when you first get them, right? But once you get the laces to be about the tightness you need, from then on you simply loosen them, slip the shoe off, slip the shoe back on the next time, tighten them up, and you're good to go. So that's kind of what these screws are like. It's like the laces of a pair of shoes. You really shouldn't have to mess with them much past that first time. The first time you get it, if that ligature is way up here at the top and you can't pull it down snug, you might need to loosen the ligature keys enough to pull it down. Likewise, if it goes all the way down to the bottom, you might need to push it back up and tighten them to get it to be where it needs to be. The ligature should be on the bottom half of the reed. If the reed was a human body, the ligature would look like a pair of pants. It should be in the bottom half. If your ligature is way up here, that would be like hiking your pants up to your armpits. You'd look ridiculous. So keep those pants down on the bottom half of your body. Same way if that ligature is way down here off the bottom end of that reed, that's too low. One way to find out where to put that ligature is to look at the reed itself. Many reeds have kind of a halfway point where it's got a line right here. I recommend using Van Doren reeds. Van Doren traditional, 2.5 strength. And there's a little line on these Van Doren reeds. So as you put that reed into position, that little line there is like the waist of a human, right? And if the top of the ligature is the waistband of the pants should be lined up right with the waist of the human. Another way to check it is some mouthpieces have a pair of lines on them. My mouthpiece does, for example. You can see a line here and a line there. It may not be visible on camera, but they're there. And if you do have those two lines that go around your mouthpiece, you can bring the ligature down in between those two lines. Pull it snug, tighten them up, and you're good to go. At the very end of each practice session, you'll reverse the process. So loosen the screws up just enough to allow you to press up on that ligature. Just like on a pair of shoes, you don't need to completely take the laces out. Just loosen these screws just a little bit. Take the ligature off, set it aside. Pull the reed off. The reed will be a little bit damp, so you can dry it off on your pant leg. Yeah, that's how we do it. Dry it off on your pant leg. Right hand goes in the barrel, left hand goes in the mouthpiece. Twist them apart. Don't forget that as we attach and remove parts, palms are facing towards me, thumbs are facing up towards the ceiling. When we assembled the top part of the clarinet here, I had the barrel in my left hand. But now I want you to switch it back to the right hand. And we're going to use this right hand to hold the top part of the clarinet and play a note on it. But first, we need to make that EU face. EU. And what you can't see off screen here is that I've got a mirror right there, and I can watch myself say EU. Next, I'm going to slide this up until the top part of that mouthpiece clicks against my top teeth here. EU. As I do this, I'll feel the reed pressing against the bottom lip against the teeth. So my bottom teeth are not going to touch the reed, but my top teeth do touch the top of the mouthpiece. I'll show you again. EU. You might even hear the click as the top of that plastic mouthpiece clicks against my top teeth. So as I'm doing this, I want to make sure that my chin is firm. I don't want it to bunch up like that. And I don't want my lip to move at all. So that's why it's really important to have a mirror in front of you. As you push this up into position, do not let this lip change position. Watch my bottom lip this time. EU. Do you see how my bottom lip does not move at all? That's what you want. You can also see that I'm applying some upward pressure against my top teeth here, right? So press up just like that. Once you are able to do this consistently and you find your bottom lip does not move, you might need to pause the video and do this several times until you can do it. Once you can do that, then you're going to blow some air. Should sound like this. As I did this, I didn't get any sound at all, which is perfect. I'm just going to blow air. And then I'm going to apply just enough pressure with my lips to produce a sound in the middle of blowing air. We call this exercise air to sound. I'll demonstrate. Did you hear the change in the middle? I was blowing air, and then I used my lips to increase the pressure around, and it produced a sound. And that's how we play clarinet. Go ahead and pause the video and try several more times to do the air to sound exercise. Blow air, then increase the pressure until you get a sound. Once you've been able to do that several times, we're going to do the next exercise, which is called instant sound. We're going to immediately have that lip pressure to get us the sound right from the very beginning. Let's give it a shot. Now, if you do this correctly, the note you will get is called an A flat. At least that's what it'll show on Bandmate if you're using that app. On the Bandmate app, I'm going to make sure that it says clarinet. And then on the right-hand side over here, I'm going to select that switch until the top item is selected. That's the flat symbol. Looks like half of a heart with a line through it, or a pizza on a stick. Don't have the bottom one selected. That's the sharp symbol that looks like a hashtag. Have the other one selected. As I blow, it should say some kind of an A as I do this. It could say A or A flat. If it says G or F or E, something's not quite right, and we'll find ways to fix that in just a sec. But first, I'll demonstrate this with the Bandmate app as well. So you'll notice that the Bandmate app said A flat when I played that correct note there. A flat is the note that I should get with just this much of the clarinet. Troubleshooting. Let's talk about what to do if you're not getting an A flat. There's a whole bunch of reasons why that might be happening, so let's go through some of them. First, make sure you are pressing up against those top teeth. If there is no pressure against the top teeth, you'll almost certainly not get an A flat. You'll get something lower, like a G or an F or an E. So you need to have that pressure against the top teeth. Another possible problem is the bottom lip. If you allowed your bottom lip to move as you inserted the mouthpiece, it will suck in a whole bunch of that bottom lip into your mouth, and that will also cause problems. This is incorrect. Watch this. Did you see how my bottom lip got pulled into my mouth? We don't want that. Another troubleshooting idea. Make sure that your bottom teeth are staying in position and that you have the reed against the lip against the bottom teeth. That should be the order. Reed, bottom lip, and then behind them the bottom teeth. So as I'm doing this, I can feel that pressure of the top teeth on the plastic. The bottom teeth are pressing through the bottom lip into the reed. If the bottom teeth pull away and that bottom lip is just kind of flopping around, you're going to get the wrong note. I need to have that EU face and feel that lip against my bottom teeth. Here's another troubleshooting tip. You have to figure out how much mouthpiece goes in your mouth when you play. If you have too little mouthpiece, it won't work. If you have too much mouthpiece, it also won't work. You have to have just the right amount. So here's a way to find out. If you can't get any air through the instrument, chances are you haven't gone far enough in. If you're at the very tip of the reed, I can't get any air through this because my lips are at the very, very tip and it's closing everything off. If that happens, go farther in. If you go in too far, everything comes out as this really incredibly loud screech sounding. So it's a good idea to find that screech. So right now, go ahead and place it in and put it farther than you think you should, and you'll get this ear-splittingly loud screech. Now, the mouthpiece and barrel by itself is pretty loud. I have to turn the microphone down every time I record with just this by itself. But you'll know when you hit the screech because it's really high-pitched and it sounds not like an instrument at all. It sounds crazy. So it's not just loud, it's ear-splittingly loud. So right now, try both directions. Find a spot where you think is right, and then try again farther out, try again farther out, try again farther out. You'll notice the farther out you go, the harder it is to blow until you get to the point when you can't blow at all. Then reverse it. Go back to that middle setting, go farther in, farther in. You'll get to a spot where it sounds kind of loud and crazy and wolf-like. Go a little bit farther, and then you're going to get that screech. So back it out. So I encourage you to explore both directions. Most beginners don't have enough mouthpiece in. They only go in a little bit and they find it really hard to blow. Go in farther. You'll know if you go too far, you'll hear it. So there's a lot of ways this can go wrong, but the most common are the ones I've shown you. On our next lesson, I'll talk about one other thing you can think about, and we'll go into in more detail, but basically it's tongue voicing. Your tongue needs to be in a certain shape as you blow, and if you're still not getting the A flat, that may solve that problem. We'll talk about that next time. So before our next lesson, what I want you to do each day is practice a couple of different exercises. First, work on developing the strength of your chin by doing the EU and holding it. We're going to do some working out with our face. You don't necessarily have to count out loud, but you should keep a count in your head as you hold that position. All right? The second thing you need to do is continually work on getting that correct placement of that mouthpiece. Make sure it goes far enough in. Make sure it's the top teeth are touching the plastic. Make sure the bottom lip does not move as you press in, and make sure those teeth are behind that bottom lip. Work on getting a consistent sound that stays the same for as long as you can. You can practice with the air to sound first, but then go to instant sound and hold that note as long as you possibly can. How many counts can you do it? 5 counts, 10 counts, 20 counts? See if you can increase that. But that's all that I'm going to have you work on for the next couple days. Now you're going to be tempted when you open that case to start jamming all those parts together and see what you can do. Don't. Remember the Texas method, where we're going to focus on one thing and mastering it before we go on to the next. Imagine, for example, if I was a hockey coach and I had a team of players who had never played hockey before, never even stepped out onto the ice before. That very first practice, should I put them in full gear, hand them sticks and send them out on the ice and say, hey, go play hockey? Or should I maybe teach them how to skate first? Yeah, I should absolutely teach them how to skate first, because that's the most important part of learning to play hockey. You got to learn how to skate. Same thing here. This is skating. So focus on what you need to work on, and we'll get to the rest of it very soon. Until next time, go practice.